Well, Maurice Newman's an Australian businessman who served in a range of roles in public life and business. He's a former chairperson of the ABC and the Australian Stock Exchange and a former Chancellor of Macquarie University. He has written splendidly and informatively on this very issue, and he joins us tonight. Maurice, thank you for your time. You write that, quote, Donald Trump is and was an outsider. And as you say, whatever his critics at home and abroad say, his supporters, and there are millions of them, see him as a president who finally stood up for the United States of America.
Well, he's not a globalist, and all of the people who are opposed to him are globalists. They are the big tech, big media, the crony capitalists who are into renewable energy and all of those global type activities. And of course, he stood up a lot of people and upset a lot of people in other countries. I mean, the United States is now getting $300 million a year more than it was prior to Trump because he stood up NATO. NATO had been just free riding on the United States, and it took him to actually press what they had all agreed to do but hadn't honoured. Now, he was vilified in the media as being a disruptor and all of these things. In fact, for the last 4 years, Donald Trump has been mercilessly hounded by the media, by his political opponents in a way which I don't think any president in history has been.
Then, of course, he brokered the peace between the UAE, Bahrain, Sudan and Israel. And as you rightly said, any one of which would have ensured Obama another Nobel Peace Prize.
Absolutely. But the narrative was, oh, well, all those countries were already engaging with Israel, so it really didn't count.
He said that he is the victim of the greatest political witch hunt in history. I tell you what, it's hard to disagree with that, isn't it?
I don't think anybody can disagree with that, Alan. And moreover, what I find particularly sinister is what they call the deep state, where you've got bureaucrats who are Democrat, Green, or whatever their political leanings are, actively campaigning in a way to get rid of him. You remember the Russian collusion and all the impeachment that went on. And yet I saw just before the election James Comey, who was the former director of the FBI, on Twitter with a Biden-Harris T-shirt and a mug which he was brandishing Biden-Harris and vote for the country. Now, this was a supposedly non-partisan bureaucrat in the FBI.
I mean, it's more than a coincidence, isn't it, that Biden underperformed Hillary Clinton in every state other than where the Democrats were administratively in charge and where there were significant electoral college votes available.
Well, the other thing too, Alan, is a collusion of people like Twitter and Facebook.
Yes.
Zuckerberg and his wife, I think it's Priscilla Chan, had given $400 million to a charity to dispense to the various electoral offices in order that because the Congress hadn't voted sufficient money, but they were putting up postal polling stations in places which were predominantly Democrat, not Republican. So you've got this going on all the time.
Yes,
so I don't think there's any question.
I mean, they wouldn't. I mean, Twitter and Facebook blocked the readership of that information about Hunter Biden's emails.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no question that Facebook and Twitter are partisan organisations who actively campaign to get rid of the President of the United States.
Yeah, I mean, you make this very valid point. Whatever else you might say, the real issue of his presidency and re-election, you say your words, the emergence of the shadows of a well-organised and powerful movement, largely aligned to the radical left. Until Trump, you said, it had tolerated marginal political change, confident that control of the bureaucracy and the judiciary was an effective brake. Having failed to contain Trump, the left is determined under Biden administration to stack the Supreme Court with socialist judges.
And there's not only socialist judges. You've got Janet Yellen, who is his Treasury head-elect, who is coming out talking about the need for Black Lives Matter and all of these left-wing causes. She's going to be the Treasury Secretary if Biden becomes president.
Look, everyone's writing to me. Just a quick one, because we'll talk in the new year about this. Quick one to my viewers about what's called the Great Reset. Everyone's writing to me. Just a couple of thoughts on that.
Well, the Great Reset is going to be the segue from the pandemic. Now that they've got everybody obedient in terms of not leaving the house and doing what they have to do, and we've seen actions from the police in Victoria which are unthinkable in this country. So there's a segue from there into making sure that we control our emissions, that we do what we're told to do with regard to the great, what they call the Green New Deal, which essentially is to pursue policies which are going to be extremely expensive and draining on economic activity.
I think your words were a fascist experiment being pushed by controlling elites.
I don't think that's an exaggeration.
No, I don't think either. Listen, we've got to talk that. It's a big issue. Come January, the Great Reset, they're all talking about it, all the big elites of the world, and we'll analyse it later. Have a wonderful Christmas, Maurice. Thank you for all that you've done.
Alan. Thank you.
There he is. That's Maurice Newman.